He's not a new king. He is very comfortable and confident as king. He's been there. He revels in the protection of his people. He revels in being the leader of Wakanda. There is not the same, there's more of the self-assuredness of having been king for a while. So it starts from a different place. It starts from him very much being very secure in being the king of Wakanda. And it's something that he enjoys and has embraced the responsibility of it.
You know, I think he's very different than some of the other superhero characters in this game. You know, he has a level of responsibility that far exceeds any of the other individual superheroes in the Avengers. You know, for example, Iron Man, in contrast him to T'Challa. Yeah, Tony Stark runs a whole company, which is a multinational, financial powerhouse. But, that's not the same as ruling a country, right? If you make a mistake when you're the king of a nation, the consequences are potentially catastrophic, right? So that's a level of responsibility. And you compare it like T'Challa to Thor, where like Thor, he fights to protect Asgard, but he's not ruling Asgard, right? So he doesn't have to, it's his dad making the decisions, it's not him. T'Challa's the person making the decisions. So I think, he stands apart from the other characters in this game almost immediately from the beginning. I think everything else, this character has been around for almost 6 decades. There have been a lot of stories told with him. We wanted to tell a story that changed up his family history a little bit, changed up his family dynamic a little bit, where the relationship between him and Shuri is more prickly. They don't get along quite as well as you see in some other stories in the comics and in the movie. But also, the chance to imagine Wakanda as a space that the players can move through, and make that be really vibrant and kind of infused with its own specific cultural history was really, really enticing.
Yes and no. For me, the start was love. With Kratos, it was the love of his son. T'Challa was the love of his people, his country, his land, his history, and his reverence for it. And so it is a different journey. Kratos is, I believe, it's very different when you have the love of something that is singular as opposed to the love of all your peoples. There's a different burden that comes with it. But for both, it started with love, and just the manifestations of it are different. So when you say, how did my approach differ? It just differed by their different vehicle. The vehicle's different, but the engine that drives it is the same. Well, the one thing is Teal'c was he was a man of few words. T'Challa is a man of many, and he loves it. He loves that he is verbally astute, intellectually astute. Teal'c kept his hidden. And that's one of the things that I think was missed out on, was that Teal'c knew this other technology, but chose not to say it. T'Challa is very comfortable with being the most technologically advanced nation the Earth has ever seen. He's very comfortable with it. So there was a great deal of difference in the verbal construction of the characters. T'Challa says exactly what's on his mind, whereas Teal'c didn't.
The expansion starts when the Avengers have been investigating these kind of instances of corrupted vibranium disrupting places all around the globe. And of course, when you're dealing with vibranium, you have to go to the world experts on vibranium, Wakanda. So there is a previous attempt at diplomatic interface between the outside world and Wakanda, but after A-Day happened, Wakanda shut everything down. They're like, everything's too chaotic now. We have to look to our own internal national security, and you know, they didn't talk to anybody again. But once this threat happens, which is a direct result of Klaw's attempts to acquire vibranium for himself, the Avengers visit Wakanda. They're let in, and T'Challa allows them to see if they can help him. You know, it's not them rescuing him, it's him allowing them into the country. So, you know, I think you have like a little bit of a culture clash between the Wakandan characters and the Avengers, who really, this may well be another planet for them compared to what they're seeing. Well, you know, Monica Rappaccini, she is on this quest for power, you know, to kind of combat the threats, you know, to kind of deal with the threat of the future that she has seen. So to her, vibranium is a perfect asset to kind of acquire and deploy in the coming struggle. Of course, Black Panther and the Wakandans feel differently about them trying to acquire vibranium forcefully. And that's where the conflict happens. So I think it ties into a larger story with how the Avengers and AIM kind of come into conflict with how their different visions of how to save the world. And also, you know, I think the end of this DLC will show just how a relationship between the Avengers and Wakanda can benefit the world at large. Well, you know, this is very much a story about other people entering Wakanda or wanting to engage with Wakanda in different ways. The Avengers come as friends, even though your average Wakanda is not terribly trusting of outsiders. T'Challa decides to give them the benefit of the doubt. And Klaw comes as a exploiter, as a, you know, basically a would-be colonizer, you know. One of the things that's interesting about Klaw as a character, you know, this goes back to his comics, is he comes in to steal a natural resource. And that is, you know, very much a nod at what happened on the continent of Africa throughout the centuries. So I think using him as the main antagonist gives you like the chance to kind of gesture at real world history and remind you what's so inspirational about Wakanda is that it is a symbol of how Black people all over the world have resisted efforts to pull valuable things from our bodies and our land. So I think Klaw lets you kind of tap into that metaphor. And, you know, he is the main antagonist, one of the main antagonists from the Black Panther in the comics. So this was a chance to kind of do a different version of him than what you saw in the movie. The comic that I wrote, Rise of the Black Panther, the narrative team at Crystal Dynamics said that was a big influence. You know, and we also talked about the Christopher Priest run. He wrote a run of Black Panther comics that started in 1998. That was amazing, and really reimagined the character as a master strategist, as somebody who carried the weight of his responsibility very heavily. Also, you know, going back to the original stories with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Fantastic Four, where he was again shown as a strategist, as a king, somebody who had to think about the entire history of his country with his every move. So those are some of the stories that were inspirational.
Well, hell, I think I've got a pretty good start with the two I played. Not even as an actor, just as a young boy, I mean, the dream of playing T'Challa it just seemed unattainable. It seemed like just something that I really couldn't even dream to. So to play T'Challa, I don't know where I would go from there. There's maybe two others. I'll keep those under my hat because it might be a work in progress. But I truly don't. These will probably be it, other than these two I have in mind, because for me as an actor, as a fan, I'm not sure where I would go. What other characters would be as rewarding as playing a redeemed father, playing this beautiful Black king, this intellectual giant. I'm just not sure there would be too much else that would be as rewarding as this. I would like to play a villain once before, and you know, believe me, I love playing heroes, anti-hero, whatever. It would be kind of juicy to play just an evil motherfucker for a minute.
Yeah,
because believe me, I got some evil in me. To all the French fans, you know, I've had a long and enduring, loving relationship with all of you, and I'm so excited for you to see Black Panther War for Wakanda. It's going to be great, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to get over there, and maybe Evan will join me, and we can actually see it face to face and talk about it, talk about what your experiences have been playing War for Wakanda. But thank you for all the decades of love and support.